against Salzburg at home. It was also a close game. Salzburg proved to be a thorn in their side. So, what was your thought about this Chelsea squad and their new manager and the old manager and their new owner and all has been saying in the press?
I think the Chelsea fans, they have to be very careful with their new owner, because with what I've seen, what he has done, he appears to me to be someone that is very impulsive. To me, it's like a fan being made manager. You can't back somebody in the transfer market and sack him after 6 games. It doesn't make sense. So you are bringing in a new manager now to come and work with players that are not his, and they will struggle this season. I expect them to struggle till maybe January, when Potter's ideas can start sinking in. Because this was a game for them to win, and I don't think they've seen any improvement.
But then I also feel like Potter stands to gain from this current break. They didn't play last week.
Yes.
They're not going to play this weekend till October.
I think Potter.
So he has about like 2.5 weeks to at least implement something.
Yes.
And it's not like Chelsea don't have quality. They have quality players in every position, so they should, easily understand what he's trying to impact to them.
I think Liverpool, Manchester United, and Chelsea have really benefited from the break.
Because next month there won't be time after the international break. They're going to play 13 games in 6 weeks. So they need to figure out how they're going to be moving forward. Yeah, so up next was City played Dortmund. I won't say a one-sided game. At the same time, I won't say it was a close game, but it was Dortmund's performance was a big surprise to most people. But City won the game 2-1, courtesy of Haaland's goal in the second half, late goal anyway. Then let's talk about your beloved Juventus and Allegri. They lost again. They've not won their last 4 games in all competitions. They've lost 2 out of the last 4 games. And they lost at home again against Benfica. Outplayed again.
I'm not surprised. I think Allegri, from last season, from what we've heard, they can't afford to even sack him. Because if Tuchel is out of a job, this guy really needs to be out of a job. And they will continue like this. They will struggle to make Champions League football if they can't get rid of this guy. Because they struggled against Salernitana, against Fiorentina. They've not dominated any match they played this season.
Since last season, in fact.
I think he has to go. He has to go.
Especially now that a top manager like
Pochettino is free.
Pochettino, Tuchel, they are available. They should really.
Zidane is still there. Zidane will probably consider going back to Juve because he's a legend in Juventus. I'm sure if the France job doesn't become available after the World Cup, he will seriously consider Juventus.
So moving on to the Europa League, Manchester United faced Sheriff Tiraspol yesterday. It was an okay game from Man U, although their opponents, threatened to score in the second half. Ten Hag hasn't impressed me in terms of his in-game management. I think he's still doing a lot of learning on the job. And fixtures Man U have from between October and November, he won't have time to be experimenting comfortably like he has been. But they won the game. Do you have any thoughts about the match?
Well, after the first half, after they took the 2-0 lead in the first half, second half was pretty boring. Man United didn't. I mean,
they kept possession, but they didn't do anything with it. They didn't threaten with it. They didn't threaten the opposition.
But I think it's fair to say the opposition they didn't come out to try and do something in the match as well. So.
Then Sociedad won their game against Omonia Nicosia 2-1. So Sociedad are leading currently with 6 points. Man U second with 3 points. Olympiacos lost against Freiburg 3-0. I mean, I expected this game to be a close game. I didn't think Freiburg would dominate the game the way they dominated, and the scoreline reflected the performance on the pitch. Monaco lost at home to Ferenc. Yeah, Monaco lost at home.
Ferencváros.
Yeah, they lost at home. I think Paul Clement, is going to be sacked. I think he's going to, because they are 7th on the table. they've not won two successive games in the league. I think they've only won two successive games once this season. One in the league and one in the Europa League. So I think eventually it might have to leave, because even last season they sort of underperformed last season too. But interesting to see how they shape up after the international break. Stade Rennais drew against Fenerbahce, 2-2 draw. Quite an interesting game. Roma won 3-0. Betis also won 3-2. A close game, against Ludogorets. Braga won against Union Berlin 1-0. That's another surprising game, because Union Berlin, they are topping the league in Bundesliga, and they've been on fire so far this season.
I think I'm just surprised they didn't even score.
Yeah. Then the last game, Midtjylland versus last.
Been rested, but
A lot of like about 3 goals were like defensive errors.
yeah. It was a team that they just put together for this match. I think Savic and the important players were on the bench. They didn't make the changes early enough, and it was too late when they came on. I think Savic got the only goal for them.
Yeah, won against Fiorentina. Another heavy loss to Fiorentina, 3-0. This was a surprise also. I mean, Başakşehir, they dominated the game from the start to the finish, and the scoreline reflects. And Fiorentina didn't even get a goal, and that's terrible. I mean, so far this season, they've not been impressive. You would think the kind of form they ended last season with the players that were brought in over the summer, you think the manager would, really impress. But there are still a lot of games to be played this season.
I saw them against Juventus. They played well. Then I guess anybody can play.
Anybody plays well against Juventus these days. Then Sikkeborg lost to West Ham 3-2 in the Conference League. It was a surprise to me. I didn't think this amount of goals would be scored in that game. I thought it was going to be like a 2-0 win, comfortable win for West Ham. But West Ham had to work for this win.
Yeah, it left Moyes very furious.
Apoel Beersheva lost against Villarreal 2-1. I expected more goals from Villarreal in this game, but you can never predict Europa League, Conference League games this season.
There are a lot of rotations.
Yeah.
So I never tell.
Then Partizan Belgrade drew against Nice 1-1. I didn't think goals would be scored in this game anyway. But interesting to see that Partizan Belgrade can hold Nice to a. But then talking about Nice for briefly, they lost their manager to PSG.
No, that was Lille.
No, it's Nice. Lille won the league with Gautier. Then he left to Nice last season, and they lost about like two starters. They brought in Aaron Ramsey. They brought in Ross Barkley.
Nicolas Pepe.
They brought in Pepe. But then their manager is a suspect, Lucien Favre. Interesting to see, Sha. Hopefully, he's going to do well for them. So let's move to English Premier League. There are 2 games later this evening. The match between Man U and Leeds was postponed. Chelsea and Liverpool between Chelsea and Liverpool too was postponed, and Brighton versus Palace too was postponed because of lack of enough security personnel, since they're going to be burying the Queen in London, and so areas that are around. Like that was the same reason Arsenal's game against PSV was postponed. Anyway, so Aston Villa will be playing Southampton by 8 p.m. this evening, West African time. Villa has been they've been disappointing. I mean, they brought in Kamara, Dendoncker, Bedranek, Carlos, and Augustin, and they are 17th on the table. They've not won a game this season. They are playing against Southampton. Southampton, they are 12th on the table. They also brought in a lot of players, Bella Kochap, Kaletasa, Joe Aribo, Lavia, Maitland-Niles, Sekumara. And they brought in one winger from Man City's academy towards the end of
Sam Edozie.
Sam Edozie. They started the season pretty okay, but their last 2 games have been, underwhelming.
They've been coming from behind.
Yeah.
That's not very good.
But they've been at least trying. They're 12th on the table. So what's your observation about the game? What do you think?
I don't see Aston Villa getting anything from this game because they've been very poor, and I don't think Gerrard is the man to lead them to wherever they want to see themselves.
Of which Danny Ings, I said Danny Ings, the other striker,
Oli Watkins
Watkins is not fit
to play.
to play. It's going to be a late fitness test.
I don't even think Gerrard knows.
And about 2 other players.
I don't think Gerrard knows his strongest 11. That's a problem right there. He brought in Diego Carlos to sideline his captain, took the captain band from him, gave it to someone else. Then the new signing got injured. Then he has to bring the captain at his sideline. It's a lot of trouble.
I guess that's why I bought Jan Bedanek.
Yeah, because he's trying his best not to use
Mings. Yeah.
And Mings has like backing of the majority of the players. So
even the board.
Yeah, he's already in a losing battle and he's not playing well. He's not getting results. So I don't think he will see the end of this year as Aston Villa boss.
All right. The next game is between Nottingham Forest and Fulham. Now, Nottingham Forest brought in 22 players. They just registered Serge Aurier today. They brought in 22 players. They are 18th on the table. And their last game, they were 19th on the table. Their last game, they were winning 2-0 at halftime, only to lose to Bournemouth.
Against Bournemouth.
Who just sacked their coach like a week before the game. I mean, it was a terrible game, that second half for Nottingham Forest. And Fulham are 10th on the table. They've had an impressive start to the season. They lost against Spurs in their last game. They brought in about 7 to 8 players. They brought in Shane Duffy from Brighton, Pereira, Issa Diop, Mano Solomon, Willian, Daniel James, Carlos Vinicius, Kozawa, and Leno. So what do you think about the game this evening?
I think Nottingham Forest have to start considering Steve Cooper's position because with the amount of investment they put into it, they need somebody to come and gel this thing together quickly. I think they have also benefited from this long break to make something work. This match is really going to, if I was part of the board of Nottingham Forest, this match would really, really be important to me because he has had time to work with the players now. Let's see what they can produce. This is also against the Fulham team that are also coming from the Championship. Nottingham Forest, they have to get a win at least or a draw.
Okay, let me ask you this question. If they fail to win this game, should he be given more time till after the international break, or he should be sacked before the international break?
I think they should give him 2 weeks more after the international break for the consider sacking him.
All right, that's fair enough. But I mean, I don't think, regardless of the amount of time they give him, I think he should be sacked still.
No, they are still close on the table. They have 4 points.
I mean, it's not about what the table is saying for me. It's about what I've seen from him. Tactically, I don't think he's equipped to manage the amount of players that they brought in.
Yeah, but
and they brought in a lot of players with different styles.
Yeah, but based on what he has done in the past, I think he deserves to be given that time. He brought them from relegation when he took over last season to an unlikely promotion. I think he deserves that extra 2 weeks after the international break.
Coaches really get what they deserve these days. I hope he gets what he needs. Moving on to the first early kickoff tomorrow by 12:30 West African time. Wolves will face Manchester City. Wolves are 14th on the table. I mean, Wolves also had an interesting summer in the sense that they sold all their backups in the centre back position. They only have two senior players.
That's Max Kilman.
And that is Max Kilman and Collins that they bought from Burnley. They sold Bolly. They sold Dedonka that they play as a makeshift centre back. They also sold another centre back. They sold Konokodi. Roman Saiz left on a free. So they went from having 5 center backs to having just 2. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But they brought in Diego Costa. They brought in Sasa Kalajic.
Who is injured now?
Then he only played 1 game. In fact, he didn't finish 1 half and he got an ACL out of the season. Quite disappointing. They bought Matheus Nunes and they also bought Boubacar Traore. So they brought 2 midfielders and 2 strikers.
Without strengthening their defense, a huge risk.
Again, now in the midfield, they only have 1 cover. Because he plays a 4-3-3 now. Nunes, Neves, and Mutio. The only cover they brought in on deadline day, that's Traore. So, like, it's interesting to see. I mean, they will definitely buy in January, but they're gambling on a lot here. Because they have a lot of attackers that they need. But they are stretched thin in the middle of the park and at the back. But interesting to see what's going to happen.
I had that bet on maybe the king dying and then postponing football till January. That's the only hope this season.
Anyway, so what do you think about the game against high-flying City who are brimming with confidence?
They have no chance. I don't think they play with the back four now.
Yeah, they play with the back four now.
I don't think they can stop Erling Haaland.
All right. I mean, if I'm going by previous games, I would say it will be difficult for City to get a win, but I mean, I don't see how Bruno Lage is going to come out of this with a win. I mean, best result they can get is a draw. We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be an interesting match tomorrow. In the afternoon, Newcastle United face Bournemouth. Bournemouth are 13th on the table. They brought in 4 players, Neto, Sanesi, from Feyenoord. Then they brought in Ryan Fredericks, free transfer from West Ham. Then they also bought a midfielder. I know they bought 4 players. And surprisingly, after they sacked Scotty Parker, I mean, they won 2 games, but I think their luck is going to run out. If it doesn't run out tomorrow, it's going to run out after the international break. They are facing Newcastle at St. James's Park. Newcastle brought in Isaac, Steven Botman, and San Maximan is going to be back tomorrow. What do you think about the game?
It's going to be a big game for both Ryan Frazier and Eddie Howe, who are going back to face their former teams. I don't think Bournemouth stand a chance here. Their best result to be a draw, and I don't even see that happening.
I think it's going to be a comfortable for Newcastle United. Moving on to the last game tomorrow between Tottenham and Leicester City. Leicester, they've continued their woeful form from last season. They are 20th on the table. They lost their last game 5-2 to Brighton. And they failed to bring in, Jeremy Boga, who they wanted to bring in deadline day. They failed to even sell players who wanted to leave. They only brought in the Belgian centre-back, Wout Faes, that they used to replace Fofana. I mean, what do you think the future holds for Brendan Rodgers if he fails to win tomorrow's game?
My question is not even for him. Is who are they going to get to replace him? We all know the heights, the peak that Rodgers reached with this team. Can anybody come and do that with Leicester?
So do you think they should give him more time, more players? I'm not saying they should give him
more time because where they are now is looking dangerous, and I don't see them getting better anytime soon, especially with the transfer window closed. So
I mean, they could also battle with Brighton for Bodo Glimt's coach. They are exciting managers in Europe.
But he's not tested in Premiership. It will be a huge risk. I think the board right now, they're at crossroads, and whatever decision they're going to make is going to be very crucial for the long-term future of the club.
So what do you think about the game tomorrow against Spurs?
Spurs lost to, I think, Sporting in the Champions League. They've been slowing down after their brilliant start to the season. They've been trickling down now to a slow stop. But I don't think this is the match that is going to
I think it's going to be another comfortable game.
I don't think it's
for Spurs tomorrow.
that Spurs fans are going to start asking questions because I see them winning this one easily.
And on Sunday, Brentford will face Arsenal. Brentford, they've also had an impressive start to the season, considering all things. They won their last game against Leeds 5-2. They brought in 4 players. They brought in Ben Mee, they brought in Mikel Damsgaard and 2 other players. So they're 8 on the table. And Arsenal, we all know of Arsenal's exploits so far this season. What do you think about the game?
The reverse fixture last season was a win for Brentford, first game of the season.
Yeah.
And Brentford, if Arsenal don't come out serious and they don't come out aggressive and strong against them and they don't take their chances, they will be at risk of dropping points there because Brentford are a good side and they've even
on the side.
They've been lately showing that they can even come from behind.
Yeah.
So it's going to be it's going to be a test for us now, especially with their lack of midfielders now.
And Partey is back.
It's going to be a real test for us now, but I would say I'll still side with us now. I see them anything for Brentford.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I tip Arsenal to come out on top.
Especially with the way they've been playing.
The last game on Sunday is between Everton and West Ham United. West Ham has also had a terrible start to the season. They brought in Paqueta, Skamaka, Maxwell, Kone, Downes, Nayev, Aguad, centre back, and they also brought in a centre back from. They bought a centre back from PSG.
Yeah, Diallo, Tilo Korea.
Yeah, Tilo Kera. Yeah, they brought in Tilo Kera. So they lost their last game to Chelsea 3-1. They are 18th on the table. Everton too, they are without a win this season. They've drawn their last 3 games. Although they had an impressive game against Liverpool, their last match.
The players will always turn up for those. That's a derby. They always turn up for those kind of games.
So what do you think about the game?
There are 2 poor teams right now going through a difficult period.
Hold on. Everton brought Unana, Konokodi, Dwight McNeil, Tarkowski, Neil Mopé, James Garner, Idrissa, Ruben Vinagre, the left back, and Patterson. They brought in about 8 players. 8 to 9 players, because they also signed a goalkeeper earlier this week. They signed a backup goalkeeper. What do you think? Let's talk about Everton for a few minutes. Do you think Lampard now has like some sort of his type of players to grind out win and get something?
I don't think these are his kind of players. These are the players they could afford to get. And that's what they got, because they went.
So do you think he can at least keep them
above relegation?
Do you think? Not fighting for relegation. Maybe like being between that 10 and 12 something.
I think the way the league is right now, the amount of good teams in the league right now, I think Everton will really struggle this season. And Lampard himself, he still has questions to answer.
Definitely.
Hopefully, if he can,
Gerrard,
if he can prove himself this season, then they should be okay. But if not, they will be in real trouble.
Okay, let's talk about the game. What do you think? Do you think there's going to be a win out of this game, or is it going to be another boring draw?
I think it's going to be a draw. It has a draw written all over it. They are both on 4 points. I think West Ham is 18th and Everton is 16th. The only difference between them is, I think, minus 5 goal difference.
Yeah.
That means I think Everton have a chance since West Ham defense is so woeful. They might, but they've gotten one of the worst strikers in the league, Neil Mopé. Yeah. Against Liverpool, he had a chance to finish that game and it was terrible. He showed his finishing problems again. I don't know why they went for him of all strikers in the world. Someone that has.
They could have used that money to buy João Pedro instead.
Yeah, he has been. He has been known for what he's known for is scoring below his expected goals. That's what he's known for in the Premiership. Yeah,
let's move on to La Liga. Real Madrid, they've been impressive so far this season. Played 5 games, won all 5. They've also won both games in Champions League comfortably. Aside from losing Casemiro, they brought in Tchouaméni, Rudiger. They are playing against Atletico Madrid tomorrow. Atletico Madrid, they've had a slow start to the season as usual. They are seventh on the table. They got back Morata, Saul, they got Witsel on loan. The only player they paid money for over in the summer was Molina, the right back. What do you think about the game?
Well, Atletico, the way they've been playing this season, I don't think they have any chance in this game. At best, they get a draw.
And
But
it's you should know that Benzema might not
yeah,
play
I know.
tomorrow. Might not play on Sunday.
I don't think that is going to help Atletico in any way because they've been very, very poor.
But it's a derby.
Yeah, it's a derby, but their manager has no attacking impetus. I don't think the best they can get is a draw.
All right. And Madrid have had good luck at Wanda Metropolitano, so it's not like it has been
they have a good record there.
you know. Yeah, let's move on to Barcelona. What are your expectations for Barcelona this season?
Well, I expect them to go far in the Champions League, and I don't see them winning the league. I think Madrid will win the league again.
All right. I mean, they brought in Lewa, Rafinha, Frankesi, Alonso, Jules Koundé, Christensen, and Bellerin. I mean, with those players, one would expect them to at least win a trophy. Don't you think?
Yeah, but this is Madrid. This is a team they have so many experienced winners inside that team. That's why even in the Champions League game they played, half of the time they don't dominate, but they know how to win. That is Madrid right now. They know how to win. That's why I expect them to win.
So Barcelona are playing Elche tomorrow. What do you think?
They're going to thump Elche
Comfortably?
comfortably.
Okay. Let's talk about Sevilla. Poor start to the season. You know, they are is it 17th on the table or 18th? You know, they are 16th on the table. They won their first game of the season against Espanyol 3-2. They brought in Teles, Isco, Zianu, Masao, the centre back from Galatasaray, Kasper Dolberg, and Januzaj on a free. They'll be playing against Villarreal tomorrow. Villarreal, they are fifth on the table. They've been impressive. You know, they brought in 3 players in the summer. What do you think about the game?
Once again, Sevilla have started the season with, as in,
Terrible start.
They've been struggling to score. They have 6 goals in 5 games. That's terrible.
And they've conceded a lot.
They've conceded 10 goals.
Yeah.
As in, they've been bad. They've continued from last season when they were expected to challenge for the title, but ended up struggling to qualify for the Champions League. So it's not like it is new. It is something that started from last season. I think a lot of managers are lucky that they are not coaching in the Premiership compared to the likes of Tuchel, because Tuchel didn't do half of this to get fired. So they're very lucky. I don't see them getting anything.
It was quite surprising they failed to score against Copenhagen, because Copenhagen, even in the Danish league, are struggling. Surprising.
It just shows where they are, and I don't see them getting anything because Villarreal, they've started this season very well. I expect them to win. They are at home against a Sevilla team, breath of confidence. So I don't see them getting anything out of this.
Yeah, so briefly, let's talk about Valencia. They sacked Bordelas, they got Gattuso, they are 12th on the table. They brought in Cavani, Kluivert, Castillejo, Nico Gonzalez, and 2 Turkish centre backs. What do you think about Valencia so far? What are your expectations for Valencia?
Well, they started okay.
Okay, yeah,
for their what they call it, for their standard.
The transition and all that.
But I think they can do better. They should do better. But they also lost a lot of players. I think they lost
Carlos Soler, yeah.
Yeah, and Carlos Soler brings them goals and assists. So they have to find someone to replace that output.
Players have to step up.
Yeah, they have to step up.
They also lost Maxi Gomez.
Maxi Gomez wasn't contributing anything.
Yeah.
And he should have
it was more of a liability
last season because it was.
So Valencia will play Celta this weekend. Celta Vigo, they made an somewhat impressive start. What do you think about the game?
It's going to be very tough. Celta Vigo, they are known for beating the big boys, and Valencia used to be big boys, so they can't stay. Historically, they are big boys. So Celta Vigo, this is a game they can get something out of. I won't be surprised if they beat Valencia, but I expect at least a draw for Celta Vigo because I don't trust Valencia like this right now.
And let's move to the League One. Monaco. Monaco brought in Bril Mbolo, they brought in Minamino, they brought in Sa, and they have quite a well-oiled squad. Aside from losing Tchouaméni, What do you think about Monaco? Because they are 7th on the table with 11 points, and they've not really hit it off this season.
Well, Monaco are always a work in transition because they always almost every summer they sell their best players, so they're always in transition. So it's normal for them. They're still in a good position right now, but depending on the next 7 games will be crucial to whether Paul Clements remains the manager or not. Because I think they lost their last game in the Europa League.
Yeah, they lost.
They were even expected to be in the Champions League. I think they lost.
They lost against PSV.
They lost
then PSV later lost to.
They didn't even play the last quality, but that's a huge question mark on Paul Clements. Yeah. The next 7 games are going to be very crucial for him.
All right, moving on to Marseille. Marseille made an impressive start to the season. They have 19 points from possible 21 points. They are 2nd on the table. They brought in Chancel Mbemba, Jordan Vertout, Klaus, Nuno Tavares, Alexis Sanchez, Amin Harit. And they lost their manager. He left because he felt the targets the club wanted they were not showing enough ambition in the transfer market, so he resigned. So they brought in what was the name of the manager they brought in? They brought in
Rennes.
No, Marcel. They brought in a somewhat okay manager anyway. But they are playing Stade Rennais tomorrow, who also have had an impressive start to the season. They are 6th on the table. And they got one of their rivals' best player in Amin Guri. So what do you think about the game tomorrow?
Well, Marseille are riding high right now, and they brought in Igor Tudor from...
Yeah, Igor Tudor, yeah.
From Kivio Verona, is it? Or
from Verona.
Yeah, he did very well.
Elas Verona.
He's a very good manager, so... They're
quite similar to Sampaoli also.
They're starting very well, so he has done a good job. And they are playing against a team that is in transition. I expect them to get a victory there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game, but I tip myself to get something out of the game. 3 points. And moving on, let's talk about Nice. Nice lost their manager. They made a poor start to the season. They got Ross Barkley, Pepe, Ramsey. And they are. What do you think about this?
Well, they are currently 12th on the table, and it depends on what the owners of the club are envisaging for this season. Because I don't see them qualifying for Europe this season.
I think it's going to be, unless they bring in players in January.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be quite difficult because they also lost Kluivert, who was very important to their side. Then a shocking decision they made to sell Amin Guri, young, talented attacker who was arguably their best player last season.
I think they loaned him.
They sold him. About 25 million euros. It was sold outrightly. Quite disappointing. So they face Angers tomorrow. Angers, they are 19th on the table. I think Nice should get something to win this comfortably. Then an interesting game on Sunday between Lyon and PSG. Lyon, they lost Paqueta, but they brought in Kenitete, they brought in Tolisso, they got back Lacazette, they bought Nicolas Tagliafico. And they are 5th on the table with 13 points from possible 21. What do you think about the game tomorrow? On Sunday, rather.
Well, what are we talking about?
Lyon against PSG.
Well, it's going to be very, very, very tough to get anything out of this game because Paris Saint-Germain right now, I think it's too early. I'm meeting them too early.
But don't forget, PSG struggled against Monaco.
Yeah, that's Monaco.
1-1 draw.
This is Lyon.
Lyon are doing better than Monaco.
Yeah,
Lyon have players. They bought players.
but they don't have a good record against.
Yeah, they don't have a
thinking
good
about
record
their-
against
their-
PSG.
Their head-to-head. Yeah, they don't have a good record against them. They have to be.
So you think PSG will win this comfortably?
Not comfortably, but I expect PSG to win. They've been PSG too. I was surprised against Maccabi Haifa. They allowed Maccabi Haifa to
Score.
get a goal,
Yeah.
and they even allowed them to get chances. So defensively, they are a little bit suspect, but I expect their attacking quality to tell.
Yeah, let's talk about PSG briefly. Their resurgence under Christophe Galtier. Especially the formation change, the new transfer policy. They bought Nodi Mukele for about 15 million euros. They bought Vitinha. They bought Renato Sanchez. They bought Fabian Ruiz. They bought Carlos Soler. I mean, all these players were all these players are top quality players, and they bought them less than 100 million.
Yeah, I think they bought so many similar players in same position.
In same position, yeah. That's another issue that I had, buying Vitinha and Ruiz and Sanchez and Soler. And they sold their holding midfielders. So they only have William Carvalho, who Gatti has been playing as a centre back.
William Carvalho.
I said Danilo Pereira rather, who he has been playing as a centre back. And they have like 4 centre midfielders with similar profile. I think the only player that is slightly different is Renato Sanchez.
Yeah.
With his energy. I think that's like the only difference. But like all of them have similar qualities, similar position.
They deprive clubs that will have needed some of these guys.
These guys, yes.
Just deprive them.
And they only play 2 midfielders.
Got in Vitinha,
Fabian Ruiz, Renato Sanchez, Carlos Soler. Like it's crazy. And they also brought in that young striker that Newcastle wanted.
I don't know what he was thinking going there.
Spending all the minutes on the bench.
I don't know what he was thinking going there.
Then they got back Pablo Sarabia, who was on loan last season to Sporting Lisbon. He also has not really played this season.
I don't expect him to get much game.
Which is sad because he's a quality player.
I think Julian Draxler escaped this summer.
Yeah, he left to.
Yeah. So Pablo Sarabia is going to replace him on the bench.
It's quite sad.
I just stockpiling players.
I mean, I when they bought Vitinha, I didn't think they were going to buy. I mean, we all knew they were going to buy Sanchez. I didn't think they were going to get Ruiz again and Carlos Soler was. He just came out of the like, why? He has not featured. Such quality player.
And they have a wonderful academy as well. So many players have left.
So many players left this summer.
Why you don't give them any chance to make the? Just keep
maybe that's going to change over the course of time. But interesting to see, and this is a World Cup year. I think by next month, these players will start complaining about lack of game time.
I think Carlos Soler has already traded his spots in the Spanish national team for money.
For money, yeah. Even Fabian Ruiz too. I don't understand, but
no, Fabian Ruiz still has a chance of getting game time there. But Carlos Soler, I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe I don't know what he was promised, or maybe he's satisfied to be just a squad player.
That much quality.
That's what he wants.
He only had 1 year left. This would have been his last season with Valencia, and he'd have been able to go to any club on a free.
Same with
Fabian Ruiz, who Madrid has been telling.
Ancelotti called him personally to let him know that next season we'll take you for free.
It's quite sad. What money can do is crazy.
With Napoli, so I don't know what he was thinking or what.
Let's move to Syria. Talking about Napoli, they swiftly replaced Fabian Ruiz. Even before he left, they got Raspadori, they bought Ndombele, they bought Simeone.
I think they bought Zambo Anguissa permanently.
Yeah, they finally got Anguissa permanently. They bought Oliveira, the left back. Then they bought the centre back to replace Koulibaly, Minjekim. They bought Kvaratskhelia. And they bought Sirigu. They got Sirigu on a free. They are on top of the table currently with 14 points from a possible 18. They won their last game against Spezia. What do you think about Napoli's chances this season so far? I mean, they usually have bright starts to the season. ending the
Just about
season
maintaining
is
it.
usually their issue.
It's usually depending on injuries. I think Osimhen is out again.
Yeah, Osimhen is injured, but they have they have Simeone now,
If they,
Simeone's
if,
son.
yeah, if they hope to get anything this season, they just have to try and keep their players fit.
They faced AC Milan, who bought Catelare. They got Origi on loan. They got back their players, Pobega and Adli. Then they bought Vranks from Wolfsburg, a midfielder. Then they bought Malik Tor from, I think, Schalke, a centre back. What do you think about AC Milan so far this season? AC Milan, they are third on the table, but they are level on points with Napoli and Atlanta.
Yeah, they are yet to lose. Both teams are yet to lose, both AC Milan and Napoli.
I think there will be a winner in this game.
Yeah, there should be. I would say I'll go with Napoli because I've seen the Milan games. They've been edging it.
Yeah, they've been struggling to get.
And Napoli have been more convincing.
All right. Let's talk about AS Roma. Roma got Matic on a free. They got Dybala on a free. They got Belotti on a free. They got Wijnaldum, who is now out of the season. And they bought Madi Camara. They faced Atlanta, who...
And I've not yet lost this season.
They've not lost this season. They didn't really have a good... They had a terrible ending of season.
They were inconsistent throughout that season.
And they also... Atlanta also brought in a few players.
They brought in the new Haaland, Højlund.
Yeah, they got a Danish striker. They got Lukman. I think they bought about 3 to 4 players. What do you think about the game between Roma and Atlanta? Roma has not been impressive. They've been grinding out wins.
They've been the same Roma, inconsistent.
Atlanta also drew against Cremonese last week. So it's not like Atlanta have been very convincing, but they have better off.
They have the best defensive record in Serie A this season. Just conceding 3 goals.
What do you think about the game?
It's going to be, I don't see, probably a draw.
Maybe a draw, yeah.
I don't see Roma because Roma got thumped by Udinese last time out.
Yeah.
They got thumped, absolutely embarrassed by Udinese. So they are very suspect. Their goal difference is just +2. I think that's because of
Dybala has been their talisman so far this season. Thankfully, they got him.
They just have to try and keep Dybala very fit all through the season to hopefully qualify for Champions League because I'm sure that'll be their aim this season.
Let's talk about Inter Milan. Inter, they've had a slow start. They've not been winning since Lukaku got injured. They got Lukaku, Christian Aslani, Mkhitaryan, Onana. And they are 6th on the table. They won their last game by a late goal from Brozovic against Torino. And they play Udinese. Surprisingly, Udinese are 4th on the table. So what do you think about the game? And they are playing away. Inter are playing away to Udinese. What do you think about the game?
I don't see Inter winning this one. They've been unconvincing this season as well. Even the game against Pleasant, it wasn't until I think Pleasant got a red card before they started, of which after they scored the second goal, I was expecting them to push for a third goal because they lost to Bayern also 2-0. I was expecting them to try and fix that because at the end of the day, it might be goal difference that will tell who come second in their group with Barcelona and Bayern. So I was showed a lack of ambition from the manager, and of which last season as well, they were expected to win the league to retain their title, and they found a way not to. So
the last 6 weeks,
this season, if he doesn't deliver, I won't be surprised.
They definitely sack him because they have an ambitious owner.
Because so this is Syria. Hopefully they can afford to sack their own manager.
Their owner has invested. Even this summer, they wanted to buy more, but they didn't have money. But still, they got in players that they needed, except for the centre back position. But they got in players that they needed. So I think if he doesn't make it work this season, he's going to leave. Yeah,
especially if Lazio end up doing well, you might end up switching him for Sarri.
So talking about Lazio, they are 7th on the table. They also had an interesting summer. They won their last game against Verona. They bought about 8 players in the summer Fuentes, Casale, and Matias Zaccani, who they bought from Kivo Verona. They bought Cancellieri. They got
I think
Vecino.
Zakani was there on loan last season.
No. It's this season. It's a loan with option to buy.
Okay.
Then Vecino, free transfer.
Inter.
Antonio from Shakhtar, the center midfielder. Then they got Romagnoli, the former AC captain, on a free also. Then they got a goalkeeper, Provedel.
The guy sold his two goalkeepers.
One left on the free.
Yeah, I brought
and
in two.
The other one left.
I think it was
They sold the other
Peperina.
one. No, both left on the free actually. Peperina and Chakosa. Yeah. So what do you think about Lazio? They're 7th on the table so far this season, and I mean, considering all things, they've been okay.
I think they were embarrassed yesterday.
By Midland.
Which hopefully they gain from resting the players they rested. Because if they don't win this match against Criminals, which they should win, then questions have to be asked of Sarri.
And moving on to Fiorentina. Fiorentina too, they've had a slow start to the season. They are facing Hellas Verona. Fiorentina brought in quite a number of players in the summer. Hellas Verona lost their manager to Marseille over the summer. What do you think about the game?
Fiorentina have just one win from this season, which is terrible.
But they've been playing well, but they've just not been able to get
because
good results.
The only game I've seen them play was against Juve. And if they told me they were in this position while I was watching that game, I won't believe. I will have to check it myself. But apparently they are in trouble like this. I'm sure they will be hoping to get to one of the European places, and with this kind of stats, their coach is actually good. So I'm very surprised to see them where they are. Maybe over the season they can recover and do something.
I hope so. Lastly, we're going to be talking about Juventus. Juventus have been disappointing. They are 8th on the table. They've not won their last 2 league games. They've drawn overall in all competitions. They've not won their last 4 games. And over the summer, they brought in Paul Pogba. They brought in Filip Kostic. They brought in Bremer. They brought in Angel Di Maria. They brought in Leandro Paredes, and they brought in Milik. What is the issue? What do you think the issue is?
I think the manager has to go. That is just the issue.
For me, I think his tactics are outdated.
That's just the issue.
His tactics are outdated.
Right from when he started benching Kulusevski, that's when I'm knowing this guy is kind of suspect. Because Kulusevski was one of their best players, along with Dybala. What was the other guy when they went to Toronto? Bernardeschi.
Yeah, Bernardeschi.
Came in and totally sidelined all those guys, and he has been playing a weird 4-4-2 sometimes with Adrian Rabiot playing from the wing.
From the wing, McKennie playing from the wing.
He just puts. I don't think he just writes down the players and closes his eyes and just picks sometimes. Because
his tactics have been questionable.
I think the players they should start looking.
Because they have more quality players.
Whether the players are actually backing this man, or even if they are not backing him, allegedly they can't even afford to sack him, which is a huge problem for the club.
Is that they are paying him so much, and
the club is in debt per year.
They need money. They cannot afford to. I think they signed a 5-year contract. They cannot afford to pay him off.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah. All right. So that's going to be the end of the show for this week. Join us next week, or which next week. And next 2 weeks, there's going to be international break, the final warm-up fixtures for World Cup, which is going to start in December. So enjoy the rest of your week.
Yeah.